Thank you for that. Welcome everybody to today's Adobe Connect live lesson. My name is Katie and I am one of the education specialists here at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Each day we're bringing you a short live program focusing on one of our facilities. As we go along, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box and I will do my very best to answer them. You can also type any comments or things that you'd want to learn about in the chat box as well. So we're going to get started today talking about our recovered materials processing facility. That's the place where all of your blue bin and yellow bin materials go. So here in Palm Beach County, we have about 1.4 million people living here. Each of them generates an average of 12 tons of solid waste per day. And so that means we have to manage almost 17 million pounds of solid waste each and every day. To give you an idea of that, that is a football field piled high with garbage, 27 feet high. That's almost as high as the top of the goalposts. So I'm going to show you what happens to the items that you put into your blue and your yellow bins. So first, we're going to start out with what does go in those blue and yellow bins. A lot of you, I hope, have them at home, and you're probably pretty comfortable with what goes in there. But if you could give me some examples in the chat box, what do you think goes into your blue bin? What would you put in your blue bin? Water bottles, good, yes. Made of plastic. Glass bottles, yes. And maybe some other containers, right? Cans made of aluminum and steel. And a lot of people get confused, but we also put orange juice and milk cartons in that blue bin as well. Good job. So what about the yellow bin? What should go in there? What goes in our yellow bins? Newspaper, yep. Pasta boxes, good, made out of that cardboard product. Junk mail, right? Excellent job. So all of those paper products go into our yellow bin and our containers in our blue. And we're going to talk about what happens to them and why it's so important for you to recycle right at home from the very beginning. So I've got a little video here and we're going to go through and watch it. I'm going to pause throughout, so don't worry that your screen is frozen. So here are the trucks that come to your house. You probably recognize these types of trucks. They are actually not Solid Waste Authority trucks. They are private contractors that we hire to come around to your houses and pick up your recycling. They can, as you see here, separate the blue bin and yellow bin materials in the trucks. So a lot of people see the trucks and they think, why should I bother separating? They throw it all into the same truck anyway. But it actually does get separated. So you see he just put the blue bin materials in and now he's going to put the yellow bin materials in. So we've got all those paper and boxes there. All of that stuff is never mixed once you separate it at home. So here we see another issue. We have two bins here in Palm Beach County in a dual stream system to keep our paper separated from those containers. So we all know that the paper is nice and clean and dry, and the stuff that we put in the blue bin usually had some kind of food on it, or grease, or leftovers, that sort of thing. We really don't want that to contaminate our paper, because if it gets on the paper products and those paper products get greasy, or if broken glass gets in them, it means we can't recycle. So it also means that if that paper gets too wet, it can't be recycled either. And you can see in this video shot here that it has been raining. It happens a lot here in South Florida, right? So the people who live here put their blue bin on top of their yellow bin to protect that paper material from the rainwater. They want to make sure their products get recycled. So here we see again that they are pulling out the materials from the blue bin, putting it in one side, and then the yellow bin materials would be put in the other side. After it's loaded into the trucks, it stops at our transfer stations and then makes its way to our recovered materials processing facility. It's kind of a long name, and here we don't recycle. That probably surprises some of you. What we do here is we take your materials and we separate them even further. So we're not recycling, meaning that we're not turning the items into new products, but we are separating them to send them out, sell them to places that do recycle them and make new products. So we're going to talk about how we separate those products here. Like I said, once you separate at home, it's never mixed again. It comes to separate sides of this building. Right here is our blue bin tipping floor. So all of those blue bin materials are dumped on the floor, and then they go through a series of processes to separate out all of the things that you've put in there. The very first thing that happens is a magnet passes over and pulls out all the steel cans, just steel cans. Those get sent out and recycled. And then we have people working by hand to pull out anything that should not have gone into your recycling bin. What kinds of things do you think people might put into their blue recycling bin that should not have gone in there? Plastic bags, plastic shrink wrap, yes. Mirrors, that's a good one too. Golf balls, yes. So all of those things should not go into your blue bin. Hangers, yes. People think they might go in there because, like hangers, they're made of metal, right? So they should go in there. No, not here in Palm Beach County. We really want you to stick to our cans, our steel and aluminum cans for metals, and not extra things like hangers or old toys. Same with mirrors. We really just want your food containers that are made of glass, not other types of glass. Excellent job, everybody. So we have people working that pull out those things by hand. They have a conveyor belt in front of them. It's moving very fast, and they have to have really good eyes and quick hands to be able to pull out all the stuff that should not go in there. The next thing that happens is that all of the materials pass by what's called a glass breaker. It's not a really fancy technology there. It's just a series of metal rods that all the materials hit. So when the glass hits it, it gets broken and it drops out down below. And then we can separate that glass and we send it out. There's not a huge market for glass around the country, but we do manage to sell it to somebody on the opposite coast of Florida, on the west coast of Florida, and they are able to make it into recycled materials. Up next is an eddy current system. And that's kind of special because it separates our aluminum cans. It separates them using static electricity. So a magnet attracts steel, and our eddy current system repels or shoots away the aluminum. So if you've ever been to one of those plasma balls where it makes your hair stand out when you touch it, and then if you touch a friend, you get shocked, that's static electricity. And we use the same process here to separate the aluminum cans. So what we have left is our plastics. Our plastics separation is the most technologically advanced. We use what's called an optical sorter. Optical meaning eye. So we use lasers to see or read the density of the plastics. So density is kind of the stuff that makes up stuff, how many molecules are in it. And the lasers are able to read the densities and determine what type of plastic it is. So we see here different conveyor belts. The one on the far left, that conveyor belt there is for our high density plastics, the heavy duty plastics like your laundry detergent bottles, those sorts of things. The one next to it is for natural plastics like your milk jugs. Still a thick plastic, but they're a clear or a light white in color. Next to it would be one for our water bottles, our soda bottles, all of that. And then there's a fourth conveyor belt that you can't quite see here in the image that is for everything that doesn't fit into those three categories. What you see here is what happens when people recycle incorrectly. So they think plastic bags, plastic shrink wrap should go into my plastic bin. Unfortunately, it creates a major problem for us. You see we have a lot of machines here that turn. All of those plastic wraps, the bubble wrap, all of it can get stuck in our machines, meaning they stop working. So we have to put somebody in a harness, as you see here. This man is strapped in a harness, and have them cut out by hand. This happens 2 to 3 times each and every day in our recovered materials processing facility. So this is something we really want our residents to try to focus on and not put anything that what we call tanglers into their blue or yellow recycling bins. So after those plastics have been separated, or after the aluminum cans have been separated, they get put into a machine called a baler. And they are smashed and pressed into large cubes. They're wrapped with steel twine, and that is how they get shipped out across the world. This is how they are received at their new homes for recycling. And we do sell those products to be turned into new products. So this is our yellow bin side. We said that was the paper side. This one is separated into residential, so your home yellow bin, and commercial, which is business yellow bin materials. So the major difference is that a business has a lot more office paper and cardboard usually than the homes do. So here we see again that line of people. They are pulling out things that should not go in there, those contaminants. And then everything passes over what's called a star screen. You can see those wheels that turn there. That helps to separate the paper from the cardboard. So the paper's small enough to fall down below while that cardboard stays dancing on top. And then all of that paper goes through another check. So here we see more people on a line pulling out contaminants by hand, the stuff that's gotten through the first batch. They're also pulling out newspapers by hand because we can get more money if the newspapers are baled separately. And we are a nonprofit government agency, but it is important that we are able to pay for the recycling operations with what our residents contribute. We also have a profit sharing program with the cities that participate as well. So you see here some plastic bags floating down into one bay, and then the newspapers into another. This round thing you see spinning here, that is called a trommel. That trommel spins out pieces of paper that are too small to be recycled. It also spins out dirt and sand and pieces of broken glass that might have gotten in. We really want to make sure that paper is clean. It's kind of like a big salad spinner. All of that cardboard or all of that paper then goes to the baling machine and gets cubed up just like the blue bin side. You see those bales coming out there. They vary in weights depending on the materials, but they can be between 1,000 and 2,000 pounds. Okay, so that is what happens at our recycling facility with the stuff that you should put into your blue bins. I do want to talk a little bit about what you should not put in there. We've covered a lot of things already. So you brought up plastic bags, shrink wrap, mirrors, hangers, golf balls, all of that stuff is really good. We also want to mention things like paper towels and napkins. Don't go into your yellow bin or your blue bin, of course. Needles, plastic utensils, paper cups, all of those things should not go into your recycling bins. If you have any questions, you can always check out our website at www.swa.org, and you can search our recycle database if you are unsure. But if you're really unsure and you can't do that, we say when in doubt, throw it out. And it's best for you to put it into your garbage can where we burn it and make it into electricity. So, why is it so important for us to recycle? You know, it's something that we've kind of learned growing up or gotten used to, but why is it important? All of these items that we talked about today are made out of natural resources, things that come from the earth that we are able to use. Natural resources can be renewable or they can be non-renewable. Can somebody tell me what it means to be renewable? What does it mean to be renewable? If something is renewable, what does that mean? You won't run out of it, right? You can use it again. And as long as we manage it correctly, we can keep using it again. So one of those products that we put into our yellow bin is a renewable resource. That would be paper, right? What's paper made of? What natural resource is paper made out of? Trees, good. So that's a renewable resource, right? We can continue to plant more and replace those trees. But a lot of the things that you put into your blue bin are non-renewable resources, meaning that there's a limited amount and we could run out of those. So things like your plastics are made from petroleum. That's oil products, meaning there's a limited supply of those. Glass is made of sand, and that's a limited supply as well. So all of those materials are from non-renewable resources. That's one of the reasons it's so important for us to recycle, because if we don't, then we could run out and then we won't have any aluminum cans in the future, and that would be really terrible. Another important reason for us to recycle is to divert or take away some of those materials from our landfill. We have 2 landfills here in Palm Beach County, and we've got until about 2053 until they are full. And at that point, we're going to have to figure out something else to do with our garbage. But if we can continue to recycle all of our products that can be recycled in our blue and yellow bins, then it will really help take away some of that garbage and give us some additional time in our landfill. So, one of the things that I would like all of our participants to do is look around your house and find some materials that have been recycled. Things like plastic bottles might have been made out of recycled materials, and see if you can take a picture of that and send it to us. Send it to education@swa.org. Take a picture of your recycled items, and you might receive something in the mail for doing it. We're also going to post it on our social media. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions about what we've covered today or about recycling in general, please type those in the chat box and I will go through and answer those here. Oh, you're very welcome. While we're typing here, I want you to make sure you tune in again on Monday at 11 o'clock to find out what a transfer station is and why it's so important here in Palm Beach County. This is something that we don't always go into detail about here at the Solid Waste Authority in our education lessons, but this is your chance to really find out what happens at a transfer station. Excellent. Thank you, Brandon. I'm glad you joined us today. So if there aren't any questions, or if there are, you can always email us later at that email address as well. But thank you for joining us today. Have an excellent weekend, and we hope to see you again on Monday.